שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, תודה בורא עולם.
Shalom, everyone. I am the Chief Magician of Mystery Babylon, and welcome to my holy channel. So today I'm going to dive very, very deep into very, very sublime, esoteric matters and subjects that are just ridiculously sublime and are only very well known to the highest, most powerful Luciferians and grandmasters like myself. And it's a little difficult to explain and reveal these very esoteric spiritual matters that I'll be talking about here shortly, because a very high SQ, and I would even say IQ is required. And the number one promise I'm always stating is that the vast majority of people are just really stupid and dumb and just have very low SQs. So yeah. So, where to begin? So, I want to first talk about, briefly, how the elite Luciferians operate. Now, some of the things that I'm going to say, I think it's fair to say that, some of you, maybe most of you, are going to be aware of, and possibly already know. That's fine. So, going back to the elite Luciferians, so what they do, right, is they use what we call, predictive programming through various media, which would include, TV shows, books, and movies. And, sometimes every then and now, they like to reveal their secrets to the world. Through these various media like books, TV shows, and movies. Now, it can be asked, why do they sometimes reveal their secrets through these media, right? Well, I think the highest secret is that Chokhmah, or Sophia, the holy goddess, has input a mechanism into the Klipot and into the Sitra Achra, by which there's this mechanism that exists within them that was put in there surreptitiously by the holy goddess, whereby which they have a this sort of innate need to want to reveal the truth and their secrets to the world, not knowing that it's to their own demise. So that's what I would say is the highest secret there. That's an operation. Now, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, right, we have prime examples of this. Would include the movie Eyes Wide Shut, one of the most famous movies that Hollywood has ever made. And that movie gave us a very profound inside look into the most elite Luciferian orders and how they operate in secret. It was a very, very profound movie. And, I don't know how many people woke up as a result of the movie. I know there's a number of people out there, especially with conspiracy theories, that, they're able to see what's going on here. They understand that, hey, this movie is revealing some of the highest secrets of these elite Luciferian orders, right? But how many people are fully awake and understand this? I don't really know. And I don't think it's a lot. But there's definitely a portion, that does, which is good. And also what's interesting is that so sometimes the elite Luciferians will make movies like Eyes Wide Shut, where the revelations are very explicit, in your face. Other times, their method of operation is they will make movies or TV shows or write books whereby which they will encrypt the revelations, or they will allegorize the revelations. They'll reveal them by means of allegory. And when they do this, this just happens to go over the heads of everyone noticing or watching or reading. And a very good example of this is the very famous show Westworld, which was this series that came out some years ago. And I did a video or I wrote a blog post a long while back, revealing the very deep secret allegories that were put in that series that reveal some of the highest arcana of the nature of our construct. Um, and I'm not going to get into it here, but the thing is, you have to understand is that there is some of my content has been taken down and unfortunately deleted over time. So for those of you that have been following me from the beginning, it's very good for you that if you have followed me from the beginning, there's a few that have. Very good for you because you've had access to all of this very esoteric content that I've revealed from the beginning. For the rest of you, you have lost some very precious arcana through the course of time, I'm afraid. But anyways, so that's one good example. Another recent show that's a good example of this that I'll mention now it's a very famous show on Apple called Severance. I don't know how many of you listening have watched this show, but the premise of the show, just the basic premise is that they've hacked the show revolves around the premise that it revolves around the premise that the world within this show has the advanced technology to be able to control the minds of mankind, and they've been able to do so to an extent whereby which they can separate a man's existence at work from his existence outside of work. So what they've essentially done is they have partitioned consciousness. They have the technology to partition consciousness so that you have one person who only knows his work environment, only knows himself at work. When he leaves work, he becomes a totally different person that only interacts with outside of the work world, and the person that the partitioned existence that exists within the work world is known as the innie, and the partitioned existence that exists outside of the work world is known as the outie. Okay, now there's two levels of revelation at play in this show. Again, these revelations I don't think are very well known. I don't really know of many people that have exposed the deep Kabbalistic revelations of this show. Again, because when the elite Luciferians reveal through encryption and allegory, it goes over the head of everyone. Practically no one has a high SQ. Practically no one has an SQ high enough to be able to understand what's truly going on here. But there's two levels to the revelation of this show. So the first level has to do with the mark of the beast, because there is a chip that they put in the head of everybody. And that's, of course, an allusion to the mark of the beast, because the mark of the beast, the chip, which is the mark, is just going to be the mark of the beast, is going to be very advanced technology that's going to have the power to control the mind and the consciousness of anyone who takes the mark of the beast. I don't know how many people out there know this. I know there's a few out there that do, but that's essentially the great secret behind the mark of the beast, and they're revealing this through this show, which we're very soon in our generation we're going to see the mark of the beast roll out. The second level is a very deep, profound allegory. So if you're highly initiated and you've been following me from the beginning, you've seen my videos, I have several media where I reveal one of the highest of arcana, which has to do with the nature of our existence and consciousness, which is that our existence in this construct quintessentially is a residual image of a higher existence that exists in the higher universe. The allegory that's used to understand this is that of a simulation, so we're sort of in a simulation, and our existence here is sort of like in a video game. And so there's an existence that exists above us in a higher construct, in a higher universe, that is essentially watching over and sort of controlling our existence here. Okay. So you can say that there's a very profound binary aspect to our existence here. Okay. And I get a lot more deeper into this, and I have a video where I go very deep into this on my YouTube channel. It might be in my private library. I'm not really sure at this point. Because a lot of my content now is encrypted. So what the show is revealing on the most esoteric level is it's revealing this very esoteric binary aspect to our existence, where the ini represents our residual image in this klephatic construct that we inhabit, and the Audi then represents our higher existence or consciousness in the higher universe. And that's what I'm going to reveal in terms of revelation on the show. For those of you that are familiar with the show and understand the lingo here, I think you'll have a better understanding of what I'm revealing here. For the rest of you, you might need to go out and do a little bit more research. So another interesting thing, is like I said, so we have to understand, right, that the elite Luciferians are revealing their secrets out in the open from time to time through various media. I want to highlight another movie, that I found very interesting. It's a movie that recently came out called Blink Twice with Channing Tatum, I think is the actor's name. And it's about a tech billionaire and about his nefarious activities within a very secret order that he belongs to. And it's a very top-notch expose of, what these very elite Luciferians are doing behind closed doors. We have to understand that they don't reveal everything, but understand there's a lot of really nasty, satanic, horrendous activity that they do behind closed doors. In either case, this is a top-notch movie, very entertaining, highly recommend for you to watch. And you can thank me afterwards. And then I want to talk about another very super interesting movie that's going to segue into some more esoteric topics here. So, before I get into that movie, I have to reveal some secret things here. So, in Christianity, we understand, what Christianity teaches is that, the Son of God, who for all intents and purposes is the highest God that has ever descended and incarnated into our construct. With respect to all of us very inferior human beings, for all intents and purposes, we're going to say that Yeshu, that he is the highest God that has come down into this construct, right? That's essentially what Christianity teaches, right? Now what most people don't understand, unfortunately, is that there's a flip side, a nasty flip side to that coin. If practically he's not the highest God, but I'm saying for all intents and purposes, with respect to us very lowly human beings, for all intents and purposes, he's the highest God, okay? We can say he's the highest God, okay? Outside of the Father, of course, and other gods above him. But there's a nasty flip side to this coin, right? If the highest God came down and incarnated, right, as Yeshu, well, that means that you have the Archons and a bunch of very elite clephatic entities that also have the same ability and the same power. And this is a very great secret that's, I guess, only most really well known among the most elite Luciferians. And when I say the most elite Luciferians, I'm talking like the top 100 elite Luciferians in the entire world, okay? Very few people here, okay? So we have to understand that these Archons and various clephatic entities, they have the power and ability, number one, to incarnate into human beings. Okay, so when we look at the powers and abilities of Yeshu, what were some of his powers and abilities? One, he incarnated into a human being as a human being, but he could also shapeshift outside of his human consciousness. He could shapeshift. He could step outside of his human body and appear as anything he wanted to appear and just shapeshift. Yeshu had that power and ability, and we see him do that in the New Testament. We see the various, very sublime, just crazy supernatural powers and abilities that Yeshu had. You have to understand that the Archons and various clephatic entities have those same powers that Yeshu had, right? They have the power to incarnate into human beings, okay? They have the power to shapeshift. They can appear as human beings, and they can really appear as anything as they wish in this construct. So they are constantly entering this construct, right? And this is the major secret behind what we read in the Torah, where Yaakov has this great vision where he sees angels ascending and descending upon the ladder. Now, I would say you have to be very stupid and ignorant if you think that these are holy angels. These angels are qliphothic entities. And the great secret is that the Hebrew word sulam has the same gematria as Samael. So these angels are ascending and descending upon Samael, the evil Samael. Okay. And so he's having what he's really seeing, because you have to understand that the entire Bible is encrypted. Okay. I'm going to get to this shortly. You have to understand that the entire Word of God is extremely highly encrypted. This is why no one has this is why no one has a holistic, true understanding of what the Bible really is saying, because it's an encrypted divine book. So what Jacob is really seeing is he is seeing how the qliphothic entities and archons are coming in and out of our construct, right? Because they ultimately at the end they control and influence our construct entirely. Okay. That's what he's really seeing at the most esoteric level. Okay. And so we have to understand that these archons and qliphothic entities have these powers and abilities. Okay. And this is very interesting because the most elite Luciferians, we're talking like the top 100, know this very well, is because they sort of understand this, because when you get to the highest levels of Luciferianism, right, you no longer start dealing and working with men, you start dealing and working with these qliphothic entities and these archons, right? And sometimes they can appear as men when they come, right? So, and so this is all very interesting, right? Because you have certain men in our current generation that are incarnations of very, very high level qliphothic entities and archons. Okay, and I'll give you one example, right? So let's look at, for example, a very famous, powerful, wealthy person. One of the most powerful, most wealthiest people in this world is a Jew who goes by the name of George Soros. Now, I'm going to tell you what I truly believe. I believe that George Soros is an incarnation of a high-level archon, right? I think you have to be very stupid and ignorant if you think that George Soros is actually a human being like me and you and everyone else. He's really not. And there are other very powerful, wealthy men, some of you who you don't know the name of, who are incarnations of high-level archons and qliphothic entities. This is where it gets really interesting, okay? Because now we're talking about very arcane, esoteric matters that the rest of the world is not privy to and is completely unaware of, okay? So there are men in high places. Some of them are incarnations. Some of them are just shapeshifters. They just shapeshifted into men for whatever mission they're on here to do, you know? And so you have to understand that the demiurge, along with his archons and qliphothic entities, their ultimate goal is to enslave and control mankind and to execute all sorts of evil upon our construct through wars, plague, famine, etc. That's their ultimate purpose. That's what they do. That's what they're constantly working at. Okay, and so they have to enter our construct to further control it and influence it. And so this is why they sometimes will shift it to men. And when they do this, they're working with high-level Luciferians to further their objectives, or they'll incarnate into human beings to also further their objectives. Like, say, for example, George Soros, who I believe is an archon in human form. Okay. Now we have people like David Icke, right, who is one of the most famous conspiracy theorists, who talks about reptilians, right? And unfortunately, David Icke is not fully initiated, right? Not all qliphothic entities and archons are reptilian. There's a good portion of them that are reptilians, but they're not all reptilians. Now, as to their true form and essence, that's a very sublime arcanum that is fully revealed in my Sefer Atziluth, and which I will not reveal or get into here. Now, this is interesting because, I was recently, watching a movie called What You Wish For. And, what you wish for, right? 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 And, what you wish it was a very interesting movie. It was about this man who has a friend who is a chef. Now, this chef was a chef to the ultra elite, the most powerful and wealthiest people in the world. He belonged to a very powerful secret agency that caters to the most elite, powerful people on this planet. And what this agency does is it sets up very private special dinners where the food is the food of where the food is the flesh of humans. So what they do is they go out, they kill innocent people, they chop them up, and then they cook them as really exquisite, you know, top-notch good food. Okay. And so this guy, he's a friend to this chef. The chef, because he's been killing people and cooking them, he gets to a point where his conscience can't manage it anymore, and he ends up committing suicide. So then his friend takes over his job, and he goes out, he kills a couple of people, in some poor village somewhere in Latin America, and then cuts up their bodies, and then creates a very fine, elegant menu based off the body parts to some very elite, powerful people. Now, as I'm watching this movie, because I'm a grandmaster, and I know I have so much access to these very secret arcana, you have to understand, right, that yes, there are certain powerful people that feast on human flesh, are big into pedophilia, and engage in other very highly, extremely evil, satanic activity that to most of us would seem very much out of this world, beyond what we could handle. Okay. Now, in reference to this movie, right, when I look at this small group of very elite, powerful, wealthy people that are coming over to this private dinner, um, to feast on human flesh, the correct understanding, the truth of the matter here that practically no one is going to be aware of is that most, if not all, of these human beings that are coming over, these powerful, wealthy people, there are archons and clothic entities in disguise as human beings. Because you have to understand that the archons and the clothic entities, they feast on evil. They feast on the pain and misery of human beings. Moreover, they love to actually eat human beings. You see, the way the archons and clothic entities view us, they view us as just beasts and animals. That's how they view us. In fact, they view human beings no differently than holy grandmasters like myself view humanity. If you read just the exoteric writings of King Cholomo, he explicitly calls practically all of humanity beasts. This is revealed in our holy Zohar. The most elite grandmasters refer to the Goyim as beasts. I, a holy grandmaster, refer to the majority of the world as beasts. I see them as beasts because they don't know God, they don't know holiness, so they're like animals. And the archons and clothic entities have the same understanding and viewpoint, and that's why they enjoy eating human beings. And so they will either incarnate as human beings or shapeshift into human beings as very powerful, wealthy people in this world, and they will go to these private functions where they will feast on human flesh. So when I'm watching this movie, because of who I am, I understand that these people coming to this private ceremony and function are actually archons in disguise. Because true human beings, the idea of eating another human is completely repulsive, to human beings, right? As I stated, for those of you that watched the recent video that I did with Yura, where Yura revealed one of the highest mysteries that's revealed in one of my principal books. And by the way, I have to say, the vast majority of people that come to Yura's channel are just extremely, extremely profane. I mean, there's already a lot of people that come to my channel that are very profane, and I'm very, very upset about this, and I don't feel good about this at all. But, in the video, I talk about how, what really prohibits us from, becoming very, very evil is the klippa. because there is a klippa that is over every human being, and that klippa is what prevents us from engaging in pedophilia, from eating other humans, from having sex with your family members, right? All of these like really crazy things that we would never think about doing, we consider complete repulsive. It's all because of the klippa. But with respect to the archons and the cliphotic entities, they are the klippa. So they don't, there's no repulsion to them. They love eating human beings. They love doing evil. They love being completely satanic because that's their nature and essence. But that's not our inherent innate nature and essence. That's what separates us from them. Okay. And so, you know, that's the great secret here, guys, right? Is that the archons and the cliphotic entities are indeed amongst us, and they're hidden and they're concealed. And unless you're a holy grandmaster like me who has true eyes to see, whose all seven eyes are open, you can then start to find them, locate them, and identify who they really are. And that's very, very powerful knowledge to have. That's why I that's why I'm number one on Samael's shit list, and he wants me dead, okay? Because of everything that I know, okay? And you know, we also have to understand, right, is that there's a world beyond our world that, you know, the vast majority of the world doesn't understand, right? Already we read in the Zohar and in the Tikkunim about divine entities that exist within our construct that no one is aware of. One great example is the Ba'alei Kabin. No one knows about the Ba'alei Kabin, right? No one knows anything about them. So there's these secret divine entities, right? When you have access to the highest, most secret Luciferian books, they also talk about secret divine entities that exist within our construct, fairies, gnomes, etc. Right? They're highly initiated. Like I said, the things that I'm talking about, only the top 100 Luciferians in the world are going to know about. Okay, you have to be very high up there. Okay, and if you're or a holy grandmaster like myself who belongs to the secret holy order. Okay, this is why Yaakov Frank. This is one of the highest seals and proves that Yaakov Frank was the Mashiach because he had access and dealings with a lot of these secret divine entities that the world doesn't know about, but the world doesn't talk about. Even most Kabbalists don't know about this. As I'm always telling you, practically every Jewish Kabbalist out there, aside from me, is profane and uninitiated and doesn't really know anything. The actual true Kabbalah, as I'm always saying, is entirely encrypted. There is no one out there teaching actual true Kabbalah outside of me. Okay? That's a fact. Some of you may not like to hear that. Some of you may not agree with that. That's fine. I don't got time for stupidity. Okay? You either see or you don't. And so that's just the nature of the reality. No, you know, people are just very, very ignorant, right? We have the Zohar, we have very holy esoteric texts that talk about these things, but most Kabbalists don't talk about these things because they have no knowledge of them. They can't speak on them. Okay. Now we have to understand the main difference between the Luciferian orders and the very secret holy orders. The holy orders are beyond secret. They are beyond secret. So secret, their secrecy far outdoes the secrecy of the Luciferian order because we have to understand the Luciferian orders are profane. What is the definition of profane? Very simply, the goyim, the hoi polloi. What does that mean? That anyone who wants to can join a Luciferian order. It's open to anyone. But that's the hierarchy with the holy orders. No one can just join a holy order. You have to be chosen by God Himself, by the Mashiach Himself. You have to belong to special bloodlines. It's a very special thing. It's beyond secret. Okay, not so with the Luciferian orders. Okay, and so when you climb up very high into Luciferian order, you start to discover a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about in this video. That's very secret. That pretty much the whole world doesn't really know about. Okay, but with the secret holy orders, it's a lot more secret. It's like nobody knows about it. You know, it's way more secret than what's going on with the Luciferians. That's why the Holy Order is magnitudes upon magnitudes more powerful than the Sitra Achra, obviously, of course. Now, you know, as I'm saying, right, the Zohar, right, tells us that the fallen angels, you know, Azazel and Uza, that there's a certain special dark mountain where they inhabit, and that's where they initiate some of the highest, most powerful Luciferians in our construct. And this is real. This is true. Now, if you read the Zohar and you take this as it being mythological or not real, you're a fucking retard. And I make no apologies for this statement, for this assertion. You're an absolute fucking retard, because this is very true. And if you're a high level occultist, you know this is true. Okay, so it's already telling you that there are powerful archons and fallen angels already working in our construct in secret. But there's a flip side to that coin that people, no one knows about. That there are a few holy orders that are also operating in our construct, where you have holy angels. You even have the Mashiach himself, the Mashiachim actually, the Mashiachim, doing their work. And some of these bases, whether they're part of the Holy Order or the Luciferian Order, some of them exist in secret mountaintops, and some of them are in deep underground bases, deep in the underground. The Zohar talks about this, right? About very deep underground bases, deep beneath the earth, right? These are very real things. They're true. Some people on YouTube think it's mythological. They speculate on these matters, but when you're a high-level occultist like myself or a high Luciferian, you know that these things are very true. And when we're talking about the holy orders, this is information that practically no one in the entire world is aware of. In fact, I'll tell you, I had a very interesting dream last night. Well, I can't really talk about this dream, but what I will tell you is that the Mashiachim, they're here. They're alive. Shabbatai Zvi didn't die. Yeshu didn't die. Jacob Frank didn't die. They're alive. They're here. They're operating. And again, you have to be a stupid retard if you don't understand, or know any of this. Okay, like I said, there's a whole world beyond this world. Lots of stuff going on behind the scenes that the whole world is just completely ignorant of, because they don't have high SQs. They don't have all of their eyes open. Whether it's your third eye up to your seventh eye, if you don't have them all open, you're not going to be able to perceive and understand it. All these things that are, going on, behind the scenes. So I've given some very powerful revelation knowledge, in this video, and I can go a lot deeper, do a lot more, but I think I've revealed and said enough. I have to be careful, as always. So I think that concludes this video. Shalom Wassalam.